No, and it's like that's a big conversation I'm trying to have right now. Like, how much of my own kind of delusion am I trying to subject others to in an obsessive compulsive type?
Are you diagnosed? No, I
love
know.
that red lip, you sassy bitch. You look like you are fresh out. You are in a rom-com, fresh out of a marriage and ready to try love again.
Oh my god, that's so sweet. I was day drinking.
You got that. That's how come you got that nice flush.
Yeah, because I did a little day drinking outside. It was a gorgeous day in New York City, everybody.
Welcome to Stream Queens. I'm Julia Went.
I'm Erin McKeon.
We are the Bushwick Intellectual Class, roommates of 10 years, NYU Film School alum, entertainment industry professionals.
Absolutely, all of that.
And our latest addition to the roster, freshman Tribeca Film Festival.
Yes, I was wondering what you were going to say, and it's Tribeca Film Festival.
Congrats,
we got
girl.
in, sister.
Yeah, Sister's the name of our program. Our film, as of this recording, you can buy tickets Tuesday, April 29th.
Yeah, I think as soon as the pod's out, you can buy tickets.
And you should.
And you should. You're going to love it. It's a really fabulous film that I'm so proud to have contributed to in any way at all. It stars Julia as well as Tessa Bell, and it's really a... Hey, Elio, we're trying to record a podcast.
Oh, and he's trying to get the jiggles.
Yeah, I saw a fan of the pod, one of actually a White Lotus follower of the pod who's not with us for The Last of Us because they're not watching that show.
They're no longer with us anymore.
They're no longer with us. They'll be back, I'm sure, when we do another show
I bet they
relevant
will.
to them.
That's can't stress this enough. It does not matter whether you're watching the show or not.
Yeah, you can listen to us for sure.
Yeah, we're your older sisters, your younger sisters, your coworkers, your ward mates.
Yeah, ward mates for sure. We did notice in chat. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
When you watch and listen to us,
Yeah.
is there any part of you that has an inkling we might be filming this podcast from the break room at the ward?
At capital T, capital W, the ward.
The ward, yeah. Does it sometimes look like we're in the ward, especially with kind of the color scheme we have going on with kind of the white walls, the pink couch, and like something about our general
processing of reality as well as our own thoughts.
Yeah, that's we keep kind of being like, imagining that the ward is like that
these walls around us.
Yeah, and all that the people that work in the ward are like, they keep talking about like
a podcast.
Like who's Mike White?
Who's Mike White?
They talk about Joel.
Who's
Abby.
Chat?
Who's
Chat could be anybody. Chat is sometimes rhetorical. Sometimes they mean one of the nurses.
Yeah, but you can't interrupt them because every night they think they're doing a podcast.
Yeah, so we kind of just let them know. And right now, we are critiquing at the ward. We are critiquing The Last of Us season 2, episode 3, The Path, as well as maybe a little bit down the line of the second season, like down the line, like this episode, of season 2 of The Rehearsal.
Yeah, we might get into that because also like I feel like after last week with The Last of Us, I really was ready to kind of like opt right out.
Yeah, shut it like a snake skin.
Yeah, because I just am so mad and over it that I'm like, I don't know if I want to stick with y'all through the death of Joel.
Yeah, I don't give a like. We started this episode like, I don't know if I give a fuck. Like, what's in it for? Like, we were here for Joel,
and I don't know that it won me over quite yet because while I do adore Ellie, I really do, and I do want to see Ellie get Abby's ass for sure.
Get her.
I thought this episode 3, was very much like, I get it. It was kind of like the grieving episode, but it was slow and in a way that I was like, I was really ready to, okay, if Joel's dead, like, let's ramp it the fuck up. I don't really want to spend time mourning Joel like this. It was really like just, I mean, what was interesting to you about this episode?
Good question. And I wonder, or I'm still like kind of hung up on when you talked about action. Like last week was too action packed was our critique. This week it's like, yo, you got to do something.
Yeah.
I wonder if what I am attracted to this episode was being, when I say vibey or mood, the idea of being in the world, being just immersed in a place that isn't my bedroom, isn't the apartment, isn't me losing my job, isn't
sorry about that.
Thank you so much. But like the escapist nature of an apocalyptic thriller destruction world, which like seems almost converse, where it's like not escapism in a cool place I want to be, but at least a different ass fucking place.
Yeah.
But no, like this shit, I don't know if I found it effective. I think they probably could have been cutting, as opposed to like, it's not really a skill to do a lot of action and then no action and then a lot of action and no action. It's like, let's learn how to intermix.
Right. Well, I think we could have just started right on kind of the council decision too. Cause I remember when we got to that point in the episode, we were like, are we almost done here? Cause this has been a long episode and not shit's happened. We just saw Ellie in the hospital, Ellie grieving, Ellie learning Abby's name, like stuff I already know as someone I'm watching the show. You know what I mean? Like I already know who Abby is. I know Ellie's gonna find out. I know Ellie's gonna want revenge. And also, even when they go to the council and it's like, are we gonna send 16 people to do it? I already know the council's gonna say no. It's obvious y'all don't have the resources for that, and that you can't send 16 people out to go avenge one person. And I know also that Ellie, with the support of Dina, is going to go out and do it on her own. So I'm kind of like, we just could have gotten there faster, because like I already knew all of that, and it took you all 35 minutes to get there. And so then I thought the only interesting scene was the cultish looking people with the smiles cut into their face.
Why so serious?
Yeah, why so serious? Those
looking
folks.
Like you want to know how I got these scars, which I do want to know how you got those scars.
I want to know what those are about. I'm curious about your prophet, and I'm curious about all that, and I'm curious.
A girl prophet, a lady prophet.
And we were curious about the little girl, daughter, or perhaps his wife.
Well, that's what you were like. You're like, I know they're good people. I was like, easy. Like, we don't know that. That could be his wife.
That could be his wife.
Like,
we don't know what
on some Joseph Smith type.
Totally.
That could be one of his many wives who, when married, will get him planets in the afterlife, none of which are cordyceps ridden.
And now we know they're all dead and likely by the hands of the wolves. We don't know.
Right. That's their kind of, that
seems to be the implication.
Assumption. Yeah, that's Bella and Dina's. This is useless to say, but I'm like, it would be funny if her name was Denise. It's like, Denise. Good insight, Julia.
Julia, that was A1 critique and analysis.
Yeah.
I keep hitting the mic on my teeth. Like,
good. You want it. Get after it. Get after your dreams, girl. I'm really, as always, impressed, delighted by your analysis and that point you're making about fucking not learning anything new.
Yeah.
From this, you kind of knew everything that was going to happen. And unlike, say, a show such as Mike White, who is real, nurses, orderlies,
he's real.
Mike White is a real bisexual man. And the fact that you don't see and think that there's bisexual, that's on you.
Yeah.
It is a new addition to address the orderlies directly beyond the camera.
Yeah, to address the orderlies.
That's what I'm saying. We're watching the pod later, like in editing, and we're like, who are they talking to?
We have to be nice, though, to the orderlies. They let us do this.
No, that is really sweet that they let us.
They let us do this.
Yeah, that they let us
They don't have to let us do this. They could separate us.
It would be a safety issue.
Yeah, to not let us podcast.
Yeah, well, if I couldn't be by you, I'd start scratching.
Yeah, for the orderlies, it would be really, really difficult if they didn't let us do this.
Yeah, I'd be a danger to myself if I didn't get enclosure engagement time.
It's true.
Like, Lord help my own mental wellness. Yeah, this is our outlet.
Yeah, but what were you saying about Mike White, who's real?
Who is real? What I was going to say is that's a place and a time where they get information. And we start with there's a murder, and then the rest isn't about how there's going to be a murder. We're going to find it out. And in fact, what we offered last week to the audience is dramatic irony, where if the audience knows some information that the characters don't, it should at least be fucking enjoyable. And we're not really feeling that way about what we're seeing with even like
right. And the information that's
you're lying.
You're fucking lying. Who is it?
Amelia.
Hey, girl. Should we answer?
Well, I thought I was on airplane mode.
You probably are on your phone. Oh, my God. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
We're in the middle of a podcast.
I'm sending my love to Caitlin Dever. I loved when she played the homeless girl in Krista.
Jamie, can we pull that up? Bye, girl.
Thanks, Amelia. But we were talking about information and dramatic irony, and what in this case, it wasn't like we knew information that the characters need to know and creating a sense of dramatic irony. It was that I knew what everyone was going to do this entire episode, even to the point of I knew as soon as Bart Bass made that speech, I knew Bart Bass was going to help them. And then he did. And that wasn't much of a moment for me. And then they get on the horse. And then I know as they kind of go through that Dina's going to keep flirting with Ellie. And that I know as soon as they kind of get in the thunderstorm happens and they get in the tent. And I know Dina's going to kind of make some kind of move, but nothing even happened. And also I know Dina's just playing, and Dina had that she goes, "You're gay, I'm not." And it's like
I'm just curious. She says, I'm just curious. Am I a good kisser? We know you're just curious.
Like we've
playing
seen
with
this
Bella
before.
Ramsey's heart.
Yeah, and it's all of the episode just felt like we know. The only thing I didn't know was how heavily armed and militant and how many people are in Seattle, a part of this wolf community. And I wish I'm like that. I could have seen at the top of the episode, and then I might have had some sense of kind of anxiety and like fear around the two of them going by themselves. Yeah. Whereas like the whole time I'm literally thinking, no stakes, because even when Bella's like, I need 16 people, I'm like, do you? Because you kind of freak out all the time, so I feel like you can probably get them on your own. But then when we finally see the wolf scene, it's like, oh, 16 may not have even been enough. Like that's really going to be a difficult situation. But I didn't know that to the very end of the episode. So it did make me excited for next week, but I just didn't feel like I got a lot out of this week.
I'm into that. And if you don't enjoy it, then you didn't get anything out of it, because that's what this was. This was like mood music, mood lighting, a little. It was bread at the table, but not even warm, good bread.
Yeah. And I just like, also, I think that's the other thing with having a show that's like week by week coming out too. Like I personally have had all week to grieve Joel.
Yeah.
So I'm I'm with Ellie. I'm ready to fight. And so to kind of just spend this time grieving Joel, like as soon as Tommy like washing kind of Joel's wrist, I was like, y'all are kind of like, I don't know. I don't want this.
I don't want this. Who's it for?
Who's it for? Because like y'all killed Joel in such a crazy way that I'm like, to have this grief experience be really slow just doesn't feel like warranted. I would have rather given him a more respectful, long, drawn out death and then moved on to the revenge plot pretty immediately than what we saw here, which was kind of this really quick death and then almost an entire episode of like grief and a little bit of debate around the ethics of vengeance and what's justice and are we doing it. But again, nobody made any changes. I already know Ellie's 1000% getting revenge. I already know Dina's gonna help her, and I already know the town is not in a position to be a part of that. So,
and I gotta get a Diet Coke. You want a Diet Coke on up?
Might as well. Right. Yeah.
But the other thing that kind of lit you up and we had a perked type reaction to, where our interests were piqued, P-I-Q-U-E-D, piqued.
Oh, can I guess?
Yes.
Is it when Jesse was looking so hot, fucking hitting that axe on that thing, and I thought, ooh, let me get more Jesse. I said, okay, you know what? I don't need Joel if we get more Jesse.
Yeah. Jesse's the new Joel. That had us right away. His arms look good. I like
really good.
His face is really
his
captivating,
energy.
compelling.
He's really got a sexy
Mr. Mayor.
Sexy energy. I'm a big Jesse fan. So would like to see.
I bet he's gonna do some fuck shit to us. The other big thing that I think, or I wanted to touch on for this episode of The Last of Us is, as we were talking about, God, I mean, we were cracking up when in the council meeting when that lady, Rebecca or whatever, had to speak, and like her baby was crying, and we were like, time and place. And you did it at my birthday dinner. Like, you can't, like, in maybe a post-apocalyptic type experience.
No, the amount of babies in the apocalypse it's concerning.
Like, let's be shooting on tits for a little bit.
Fully. Like, I'm really like, and I mean, like, it's.
And yet it's also like, obviously children for many people represent the future, and you do.
Yeah, and the hope and the,
the future generations.
Sure.
I'm ready to move on in 30 seconds. I want to ask about the apocalyptic. When we got back on the road, when they're on Seattle playing their little game, and we
were
saw
excited.
Dina being chatty like first season Ellie, and Ellie being a little curmudgeon-y like first season Joel,
Yeah.
like daddy, like non-binary son.
Baby, she's a daughter. Ellie's a girl.
Well, yeah, but I'm not really seeing lines of fiction and reality in such a clear type way.
Bella Ramsey's a non-binary person playing a female girl, Ellie.
Right.
Right? We don't.
What are you
have to-
asking me for?
I don't know. It feels like you're trying to they them Ellie in a way that I think is not necessary. Out of respect for Bella Ramsey, in a way that I don't think is necessary. That's
No,
an
it's like
that
it's
they
more like
are an
I'm getting
actor.
non-binary. I'm getting non-binary like
Vibes from the
like
horse ride.
stud from the horse ride.
Well,
yeah.
for sure. I mean,
Right. So that's what I mean. I'm like,
yeah.
this has nothing to do with Bella. Well, again, it's gonna. But the point is, we're in the apocalypse, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is refreshing to be in the apocalypse again.
Yeah, I was excited to get out of Jackson and into like seeing the cars on the road and the moss on the kind of like cars and the buildings covered in foliage. Like I was like, oh, I forgot how much I love this stuff. We haven't really gotten to see it all season because we've pretty much been in Jackson the whole time. And I'm like, I'm stoked to be seeing the apocalypse again because that is just such beautiful imagery and it feels super. I forgot how real it is and how successful they make it feel.
It doesn't look cheap at all.
It doesn't look cheap at all. It looks like just, you know, it's like I'm like, yeah, that's what Seattle looks like. And that's I feel the abandoned energy, all of the production design, everything they do with these cities feels so visceral. All the cars stopped, right? Because it just feels so there's just this suddenness in the way they do the design of these worlds where you can feel the people running out of those cars. You know what I mean? You can feel how quickly it all happened and that it was never even able to be cleaned up in any way because they haven't had the resources still to this day. It's not over, right? We haven't fought this. It's not done, even though we have some settlements that are successful, right? And that seem to be like doing okay in some capacity. They still haven't cracked down on this cordyceps problem enough to be able to clean up any of the cities or use them. You know what I mean? Like it's just so wow. And how fast it can all.
What's the singular? It's the thing that this show is doing differently or has something to say about. It's like, don't miss what people came to the show for.
Yeah.
Which is the excitement and the curiosity around what one might do in a cordyceps world.
Right.
Like, I'm not even, human beings when left to their own devices and having to restart are going to act the same way that they did before they had to restart. Like, florals for spring.
Groundbreaking. But what I do love about this version of an apocalypse versus like other ones, right, is that it's not, the cities are not ruins, right? It wasn't a bomb. It wasn't a big war. It wasn't that like everything is burned to the ground and is like a ruin of a city you recognize. It's an overgrown, abandoned city. You know what I mean? And it's like we've all seen abandoned areas of, right, like in Grab Can City, there's abandoned areas of towns, right, where they do just look like that. There's just kind of a car and a house and things are covered. And like to see an entire city like Seattle like that it just gives this really knot in your stomach kind of feeling that's, you know,
cool, challenging, new, exciting, and it really is in terms of like what is the conceit, what is the crux of the show. To me, where it hits its mark is what happens in a world where human beings are not the dominant species.
Right.
When it's cordyceps, when
mushroom.
it's nature, when it's everything else.
Yep.
Because that we get to see in these overgrown cities better than anything.
Well, and that's what's cool about like thinking of the last episode or 2 episodes ago, the giraffes kind of thriving and stuff too. 'Cause it's like, I don't know, makes me think of the conversation around like climate change and the idea of like, oh, the Earth isn't going to end, but humanity might, right? And it's like, what does it look like should a scenario like that happen? It's like kind of like that, right? Like the city structures and the memory of human society will be there, but nature will grow through and around it and change it, and it will just become a part of.
That's where I'd like to return to is the post-human.
Yeah, Salt Lake might just be where the giraffes live.
I think that we have treated this episode with exactly the depth and course it needs.
ultimately, all I want to say about this episode is I'm like, okay, there is a consequence. You can hold a gun at me if you want. There is a consequence to having a boring episode of television, which is that I want to talk about The Rehearsal.
I'm going to watch something else.
I'm going to watch something else,
gonna
and
be
HBO
left.
provided us something else. The Rehearsal. Welcome back, Nathan Fielder.
Nathan Fielder, standing
You
invitation.
psycho.
What would you even do if the doorbell rang and I looked through that little pee-pee hole and it was Nathan Fielder? I'm screaming. I'm going, ah! And you're like, what? And I'm like, it's happening. He's fucking here. We loved the shit out of Rehearsal season 1.
Yeah, and I'm in season 2 is even better. When we watched The Rehearsal season 2 episode 1, we were shocked.
I
at
was
what he's doing. Like
experiencing
him
fear.
standing outside the window of a plane holding his iPad while doing these dramatic recreations
Flames
of
in the back?
actual dialogue from before actual flight crashes.
Right, where it's like, oh, where undoubtedly people are deceased dead, real people.
Of course. And it's so like he's unafraid, but he's so funny to take. Like, and that's why I'm just like, how did you get there, Nathan Fielder? How did you start looking into plane crashes and come to the conclusion that what if plane crashes are happening because co-pilots have a hard time speaking up to their bosses and then decide that that was a worthwhile concept for a TV show that then you could spin into by episode 2 be doing an American Idol spoof is like his mind.
I also wonder, and perhaps chat can enlighten this for us, or even a simple Google search, is it feels timely, but certainly this has been in production long before this past calendar year, in which there have been multiple massive high-profile plane crashes in the United States of America.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how did he... I mean, it's so... His finger on the pulse, it's like if he was able to tell the BPM of the heart rate before the heart rate rose or fell.
Yeah, he's in touch with something for sure.
With the source.
The source. That's what I meant by something. Of
Holy
course.
shit,
I meant,
which
like,
you are always channeling.
I'm always channeling the source. Like, it's like, well, because how I believe, and somebody said this. I thought I came up with it, but then I heard somebody said it somewhere. Someone smart, whatever.
Yeah.
The idea that ideas are something that kind of float around in whatever
the collective
kind of
conscious?
grid is. Yeah, and the collective conscious, whatever
Grid,
kind of.
interesting.
I picture kind of like a network, a grid that kind of connects us all, like our consciousness, right? That's kind of everywhere. And so like the idea of, and this does happen to people all the time, when you get an idea, it's like it's not coming from within you. It's like something you pull, right? It's something that finds you or that you pull out of this kind of collective. And then if you don't do something with that idea, right, that's when a couple weeks later, someone else had that idea. They're really successful. And you go, fuck, I thought of that.
It's almost like I'm seeing a cloud, like a word cloud.
Yeah.
Where something's bigger and bigger and maybe feeling low enough for you to grab because everyone is putting that weight in it.
Yeah, but if you grab it and start taking momentum with that idea, you become the channel through which that idea, like ideas have their own, it's almost, so the idea is really like ideas almost have their own consciousness and willingness to be expressed. And so if you are so lucky to grasp onto an idea, you can move with that idea and be the voice of that idea and manifest that into a 3D reality, or you can let it go, but someone else is going to do it because the idea has its own will to be heard more than it needs you as the conduit, right?
Right, like it's going to find a way.
It's going to find a way. It's like a cordyceps.
Cool. And its own consciousness, its own need to exist and to reproduce.
And Nathan Fielder's wacky fucking psycho ideas, he accepted his role as that conduit to tell these stories, because what a actual sadistic, beautiful mind that guy.
Yeah, we're 2 episodes into the season. We're now current. We binged it. How would you, for a listener, represent or summarize what the season seems to be about so far?
It seems to be about, to me, I mean, I don't know. He makes it pretty clear, which is one thing I really love about him is
he's good at premise.
he's really good at premise, and he does his a kind of essay format, right? Where he does these voiceovers that are really remarkable at how he strings seemingly unrelated ideas together to come to an absolutely bizarre conclusion, but that does all seem to flow.
Yeah.
And he says, right, like this season is about solving a crisis in aviation and aviation safety. And then there's also the essential question of he, as a comedian, is he the guy to do that? And can this platform of a TV show where he's representing himself as a clown getting stuck under a car, right? Like he's like, can he do that with this platform? Can he make a change, right? And for whatever reason, the change he's chosen is aviation safety and whatever. And the metaphor he's creating with that about confrontation, right? Which also goes back to so much of what we've seen Nathan Fielder's work has been about social anxiety, right? And the idea, like going back to Nathan for you, so much of it is built on this premise of he's a weird guy who has trouble communicating with people and has trouble connecting, right? Like that seems to be the premise of a lot of his work. And this show is not only I want to solve this problem, but am I that guy to do it? Can comedy do it? And can I work through my own social anxieties by doing this?
Yeah, it's striking me in watching it and talking about the rehearsal now, and then thinking of the rehearsal as part of Nathan Fielder's larger project is the fucking layers, donkey. Like this shit is onion style deep and stuff that I'm not even always aware of what's working within it. I just keep getting struck, and it is simple, which is one of the chewy things about the rehearsal is pilots, as far as I can tell so far and have thought before, have like a doctor type God complex, which Nathan is also tapped into, and he's at once the pilot, the co-pilot, and other times but significantly less, is the passenger. But it's
of his own show,
of his
vehicle.
He's not really passenger vibes. And I wonder, I don't know, I watched, there's this creator, this YouTuber that I like called Thomas Flight, and he just did a dive on like the rehearsal season 1 and the levels of artifice, the simulacrum, which I couldn't even say again, versus simulation. I wonder, like, and then also analyzing Nathan as a character, how he is in the show, Nathan as the producer.
And he's also, like, speaking of, I mean, like, he definitely seems like a guy who's into like the John Baudrillard simulacrum theory, right? And
tell me about that.
It's different stages of simulacrum, and I'm gonna butcher this explanation,
Thank
but
God.
Like basically these different
chat lighter ass up.
It's stages of kind of representation and where representation becomes reality, right? Like these levels of when we make so many representations of reality that then are affecting reality to representation, right? It's this back and forth that creates an entirely new reality based on a simulation of a reality, right? It's this almost infinite loop, and that we're in this stage of unreality as we exist, right? Because there's been so much simulation happening before us, right? In the kind of stories and things that we represent, right? That's, again, I'm totally butchering the idea, but it's something like that. You seem to have gotten it.
Well, I'm in like your representation of it is sick as fuck and engaging and
it's right, because it's not like, I'm not saying I'm articulating correctly, but I know that I'm transmitting the idea of what I understand it as to you, and hopefully to you, chat. However, what I think is cool and what Nathan Fielder does, and I love that it is, I can tell it's very true that he was a junior producer on Canadian Idol, because I think one thing that's always really attracted to me about Nathan's work is that I also produce reality TV and have very much seen that, like, how people act on camera is simultaneously incredibly inauthentic, right? People get naturally quite performative, and they want to give you what you want when you're the one kind of holding a camera in front of them.
Nice.
And yet at the same time, it's a incredibly genuine expression of who that person is. You really see people in this naked way when you put them in a situation, and then put a camera on them, people really act in this really interesting tension, right? Like, because like I'm a producer on Queer Eye Chat, for those who don't know. I would love to do, you could do a totally different,
Right.
and this is
Amongst
true of all
other shows,
reality
yeah.
shows that I've worked on though, like you could do a totally different tonal edit of all of these shows, because the way people
Right.
act on camera when you are not scripting them, when you're putting them in situations, is really interesting, and he plays with it in such a creative and funny way, where I think there's a world where like Nathan For You especially, which makes sense because like it was Comedy Central and it was of the time, like there was a lot of kind of humiliation involved, and I think as his, and though it was
which
always
I love, I'm partial to.
Yeah, and I'm not so much, but I think again that's
Right.
because I come from a reality TV background and I've seen it. It's fucking easy. You know what I mean? People will humiliate themselves on camera. It's like too real. It's too
I'm
easy.
doing
I'm
it
not
once a
interested,
week,
right?
at
Like I
least,
like
yeah.
uplifting kind of content, right? And like would only want to give someone like a good edit and a positive story, right? And but he also, both in Nathan For You, and it's progressed even more, right? He's making a concerted effort to, while he's got people on his shows that are doing these humiliating things, like this week he made people sing and do bad auditions for a fake show, and yet but who comes off the worst? Nathan, right? Like he makes a concerted
Apparently,
effort to turn everything on himself and put himself front and center and kind of make his issues with it and his social issues be kind of the thing that's on display. And he did that. The Curse seemed to be a lot about that, which you didn't watch, but The Curse was like very much a question of when you're making a show about people, real people, and who are the people who are creating the show, and what does it expose about you in the process, right? Like, and I mean, it's just,
it seems like you learned from The Curse, and even season 1 of The Rehearsal is that fucking weird ass Kubrick-esque stare that he's invented. He's got like a Fielder smile where I'm like, ooh, that is the devil.
Yeah.
That is
trickster.
Yeah. And yeah, actually that's perfect, because it's so, I mean, you were in the other room as the second episode started, and you were like, who is he saying that to? And I went, well, people dressed as pilots, people who appear to be pilots, because he's making you, and you're forced to engage with the material suspiciously the whole way through, in a way that I'm not sure really transfers to other pieces of media, but it makes me suspicious of him. It makes me suspicious of the whole effort.
I mean, a lot of people have always been suspicious of do these people know what's going on and how much are they acting? I think it's always been a question about his work. And to me, I've always found it to be, I'm like, again, I think it just comes from reality TV experience that I'm like, I don't think any of these people are acting for the most part. I think these are all real people doing the jobs that they say they do and who agreed to be a part of a TV show. Because when you walk around saying, I'm doing a TV show, will you be on my TV show? People say yes, and they show up and they do it, and they don't know what they're doing, and they'll, like, I don't know. I'm just like, it's not that hard to find this many people. You know what I mean?
Reacting under, or acting living truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
Yeah, and that's what reality TV is. And also, I think that's why he gets so many interesting, like, why I love that medium so much.
Yeah, that's what I want to touch on. Is you are
really,
so fucking passionate about reality TV, and you find it to be the medium of our time.
I really do, because I find it, and that's what I think is so cool about Nathan Fielder, because he's taken it to such a higher art level, which is really, I feel like, what I've always wanted to do in my career, is take reality TV to a higher form. And I think he's really doing that and really directly inspiring to me, because reality TV, that tension, that genuine emotion that you get from people, from real people on camera, is so unfucking paralleled by
sick as fuck.
Actors. You know what I mean? You can, like, cameras so pick up a true energy in people, and the access to how easy it is to get real people on camera having real experiences, and how much that translates through is
it's
incredible.
Shocking.
It's
also,
shocking.
It's not like just for the fact that they're doing it, but like you can see moments when he's genuinely shocked in the way that we are. Him talking in the second episode to the pilot, and the pilot being like, I'm banned on every
dating app. Yeah.
It's like he's shocked.
He's shocked.
and for somebody who's playing Control, right? It's like that shit you can't get any other way.
Right. And what did there was, I think, I don't remember if it was Nathan For You or the rehearsal, but it was something, I think it was Nathan For You, and he went back to it all the time. There was one guy who like called him out and called him, "You're the Wizard of Loneliness."
Damn.
Was talking about, he was like, you're making this show and you're doing all this stuff, you're trying to humiliate people, but it's you're the Wizard of Loneliness. And it was like,
Damn.
and he like would cut back to that multiple times, this like ringing
Yeah.
in his head of "You're the Wizard of Loneliness." And it's so funny because it is like ultimately his thesis, right? Is this really like moving people in this way and being so manipulative by creating a show in a circumstance like this. And obviously he's taken it to the next level by building the fucking Houston airport and the
Hats off
Panda
to
Express and the
HBO.
bar with it. I mean, thank you, HBO. Give this man all your money.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, perhaps it's what draws you to him, what you appreciate about his work. I am hearing or also noting that it would be if Nathan Fielder made a documentary where he does voiceover and interviews people saying how it's bad and weird, or that you can get people to behave in certain ways, or that, and even so, like the very medium, if of reality TV and making reality TV is a reflection of the creator. If it was just straightforward like that, it wouldn't be nearly as entertaining. The way that he's having a conversation about, again, what is your favorite medium is perhaps the medium of our time, on top of itself is really fucking sophisticated, engaging, and wouldn't be effective if he was offering like an expositional like, here's what I think about reality TV.
totally. It wouldn't work in a documentary format or being
It'd
like,
be boring as
it'd be boring.
fuck.
Well, that's what, and that seems to be an essential part of season 2. Season 1, he definitely was talking a lot about ethics, right? Because it ended with that child kind of calling him dad, and it was this
So
like
funny.
about the ethics of putting children on camera.
Yeah.
Seemed to be an essential question by the end of season 1 of the rehearsal, whereas this one seems
Yeah.
to be a lot more about what makes it entertaining. And he says that multiple times throughout, like when he's trying to convince the United Airlines person, right? He's like, well, the reason I say it's somewhat sincere is I do want to make aviation safer, but I also want to make an entertaining show. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that,
Yeah.
right? And that's like these cutaways to the clown. Like, it's like, how do you make... He is making serious points about people, about how we interact with each other, and about, but how do you make it entertaining? And it's like, well, he's a gold mine. It's endlessly entertaining what he's doing.
And to find echoes of his interest and how that relates to the subject matter. I mean, in that first episode, he examines the history of flight, and people talking about it as something unserious is funny.
Yeah.
In this exploration too, that he seems to be going on of being taken seriously, but also, like you're saying, and seems to be like the tension with simulacrum, is the idea of influencing reality. There is nothing more fucking real of influencing reality than planes in the sky, whether or not people live or die.
Right.
The stakes are huge. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason one less plane crashes because of this dude, which is in itself immeasurable, and flight itself is already like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I mean, planes, you could say, and perhaps I'm Nathan For You, I'm Nathan Fielder pilled, but I'm like, planes itself is the rehearsal. Planes itself is comedy. It's farce. It's sick as hell. Before we started recording, and you were like, do we talk about both shows? Do we not talk about the shows? This just genuinely is my passion, talking to you about television.
Yeah, agreed.
And what we're streaming is one of in this Thomas Flight video essay that I watched about season 1 of the rehearsal. He was one of the like sub chapters or subtopics was never question the premise. And what was how did that relate to the piece that we were just talking about? Oh, don't question the premise. That came up for me because the example he uses, Thomas Flight, don't question the premise on like other reality shows in like Love is Blind, right? Like you can't be like, they're not going to keep or cut or focus on a contestant being like, it's crazy to marry someone sight unseen that you know for less than a month. You can't question the premise. You're not getting cut, right? If somebody, he suggests like, if somebody says something like, I don't know if knowing somebody for this short of a time is a good way to meet people, they're going to be like, well, that person is of course afraid of commitment. But again, like you're not meant to question the overarching, the structure of the show. And Nathan Fielder is playing with premise, but I, in season 2, see more of this, this tenet that Thomas Flight is identifying and makes season 1 successful. Don't question the premise. Like Nathan will, when he couldn't get access in season 1 or season 2, episode 1 to the Houston airport or the United terminal, you're like, oh, like he should have talked to Delta. Like Delta would let you do it rather than do the easy thing.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we simply must build the Houston airport.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah. Well, I'm interested in this Thomas Flight point because it makes me question. I'm like, well, he doesn't sound like a true Love is Blind watcher, because actually people are constantly questioning the premise. That's actually part of the show. And the best thing about this is such a departure, but whatever. Like, this is Stream Queens. We're here to talk about what we're streaming. Like it's, I was telling someone, and I'm gonna do a double departure. First departure. I was talking to someone today about, hey, I'm thinking we're gonna split. I think we're gonna do The Last of Us, and I think we're gonna do the rehearsal. And they were like, oh, don't you think that's a bad idea, like for like consistency? And I was like, no. What's consistent about the podcast is it's me and Julia talking about what we're streaming. Like I don't care. I'll talk about whatever I want. This is my podcast. And two. But Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Okay, so the brilliant thing about
that was really well done.
The brilliant thing about Love is Blind is the idea of questioning the premise is actually baked into that show, because by nature they consistently talk about it. So it's different. That logic to me applies a lot in something like Bachelor Nation, where it's very important that everyone there wants to marry the Bachelor, and they mean it, and they need to be there for the right reasons, is obviously the trope, right? It's all very important to all of them, and it creates drama between them if somebody feels less interested in this marriage in a very genuine way, right? Love is Blind, they very intentionally call it an experiment, and they reiterate that over and over and over again. They make it the essential question of that show is, can you have a successful marriage to someone in such a short time without having met them face to face, right? And so the people are actually constantly questioning the premise, and that's baked into the experiment of the show. It's, will this experiment work or will it not, right?
Which I think that as a counterpoint to that, the Thomas Flight video essay Love is Blind example, if the premise is, will this or won't this work, perhaps the claim is that giving an opinion about it, no, this will not work, is the idea of questioning the premise, of not, like, there's a difference between continuing to float and underscore the, well, this is an experiment, we're not sure if it'll work, somebody being like, yeah this is not going to work, this is crazy, I'm not going to continue to, like,
well, yeah, that person gets cut
exactly
from the show.
And not only gets cut from the show, but you talk about they intentionally call it an experiment throughout. We saw that with with the last episode or the last season of Love is Blind. Was it our girl Tiffany, who sometimes they kept calling it an experience.
Oh, an experience, yeah.
Yeah, in a way that it was clear that that they were discouraged from saying something else. It appeared, right? That she was probably saying something else, and they were like, no, experiment. And she was like, got it, experience.
Yeah, she kept saying experience, and they were like, but they kept trying to tell her, be like, it's called an experiment. It's called an experiment. She kept experience. But it is such a key. That's why I love about Love is Blind is that word is so. And I do think Nathan Fielder has this interesting, because it's these words that we use to manipulate people into doing things are so important, right? There's a reason they kept telling that person on Love is Blind, you have to say experiment and not experience, because experience is something you have on a different kind of show. An experience is The Bachelor, right? Those women
Right.
are having an experience. They're having an experience with him. That's
You're
really
so
important,
good.
right? An experiment is something totally different, right? It's not about that. We're doing this test. It's something, you know what I mean? Like The Bachelor is not about a test. It's not a test of compatibility. It's an experience, and you're hoping to get commitment from this man, but it's actually much less of it's not a test. It's not even really a competition, right? It's an experience that The Bachelor is then dwindling down person to person. It's not really about, I don't know. It's hard to compete with each other.
No,
It's not
I
a
like
competition show. It's an experience show. It's just, there's so many different ways to do these shows. And like, yeah, oh God, I just love reality TV so much.
And that is, to me, then what
And
if
that, yeah.
Nathan Fielder is constructing. You know, last time he was interested in, like you're saying, it would appear that he was interested in the ethics of the treatment of his subjects, including specifically children who, right, can't really give consent, struggle like we do to distinguish between reality and fiction.
Sure.
We get to see in this season more, I think, than in the first of the rehearsal, is him grappling with the small distinctions in words such as like experiment and experience in front of the contestants in a way that, like, if there was a lesson to be learned about from season 1 for him, for the character of Nathan, perhaps it was the need to be a little bit more transparent with your subjects.
Yeah.
And like we see, for example, in this second episode, he's like, yeah, it's a singing competition, but it's within a show that's not about a singing competition.
Yeah.
And still, to your point,
When she goes in, is there a prize? And he goes, yeah, you get to sing a song with a band in a competition show within another show in a recreation of the Houston airport. And she goes, wow.
she's stoked.
Cool.
Which is so, yeah, peels another layer, shows another layer, which is what you were naming at the beginning. It's like, yeah, people, you say I'm doing a TV show, they will do it. It doesn't matter how much you're like,
Right.
oh, it's somewhat, or you do the details. But I do think it allows us as the viewer to go a step further with Nathan of, you know, you're not getting stuck up on, oh, well, was he entirely transparent? Was he entirely honest? It's like, yeah, we're getting that. You're seeing the waiver. You're seeing the explanation of the waiver. And then we're getting to see the, oh, cool.
No, 100%. And you're seeing, and again, there's a question there. That's where this unreality of it, because how genuine is that, right? Like, you see that girl who's answering that question. It's like, wow. And it's like, yeah, he just said exactly what it is. It doesn't sound enticing. It sounds crazy. It sounds like you're going on a camera to be humiliated. And she's excited to do it. And is that genuine? I don't know, because she's got this camera in her face and she's playing along. You know what I mean? Like, that's where you get these questions of what's real and what's not when you put people on television and when you put people on camera and how they act. And it's just such a fascinating medium.
Right. And humiliation, the idea of signing up to be debased, as it were, as well. Like, this is, again, it does what Nathan Fielder's project seems to be doing is not just grappling with that at its base level, but taking it beyond, not just like, oh, what does it mean, or what are the points of tension or the dynamics between humiliation and power dynamics, but like, are there question mark? It's like, yeah, there are. That's not what we're really talking about.
Right.
We're pushing and seeing this, the multiple iterations of instances where you do exactly that level of manipulation or disclosure or whatever, and then you're getting almost like, you talk about an experiment, like, under these conditions, which is Nathan Fielder's manipulation or his wizarding of deception, how do people act? And then,
well, there's that power. He's exercising power of those people, but also, like, it's the power of the budget and what he's doing with HBO.
the budget
and
is,
what he's doing to
with the law, with the, sorry.
Well, I was gonna say to Paramount Plus.
Hit them. I think we gotta touch on the Paramount Plus Nazification.
The HBO. We've had a discourse as we've been doing this podcast, and we've been pirating and then uploading clips of HBO shows to TikTok, and sometimes wondering though, like, are these gonna get taken down and whatever. And we've talked to some other podcasters who also rip clips from TV shows and put them on TikTok, and then we're like, do you get in trouble for that? And they're like, no, like HBO's just never kind of come after it. And then we were like, yeah, because I think HBO's legal team is pretty much on defense 100% of the time. I don't think they're too worried about us posting clips on TikTok. I'm like, they got a full-time slate of lawsuits. They must. I mean, putting Paramount Plus Nazi uniforms on for and for a show that Nathan Fielder has a show on Paramount Plus right now. I'm like, you are sick. So funny.
It's amazing.
And that's an exercise in power, to take power over those networks and be like, yeah, and people are watching my show, and I'm going to call Paramount Plus Nazis and have people marching with Paramount Plus armbands. Is so beyond, like, that's such a crazy exercise of power that is deeply funny.
And that's where I want to get behind. I would love a peek behind the curtain into the HBO production and entire apparatus of, like, giving him all the money, giving him all the resources of, like, a team of fucking lawyers who are going to defend the HBO brand, are going to defend the product, and defend him personally if, you know, Paramount were to come after him as an individual. Like, all these layers of protection, like you're saying, how that's power.
HBO legal team, open invitation to come on the pod.
Like, please, y'all are incredible. And then how much, right, in a production meeting or a pre-production meeting with the executive who managed the multiple executives and producers at HBO, who they're like, okay, so this episode is about, like, we're going to be visually and linguistically drawing a comparison between Paramount Plus and Nazism.
Well, and it's so interesting too, because I've always noticed HBO, because, like, I mean, I've worked on a lot of reality and, like, doc stuff, and I've done it for a bunch of different networks, and, like, Netflix, for example, like, we have to be super careful of really stuff you wouldn't think about at all, right? Like if you're going through a kitchen cabinet and there's a brand of whatever, you got to know if you can show that brand or not, or you might just blur it out of safety, right? Like, legal teams don't want to deal with this kind of stuff. HBO, I've always noticed, because it used to make me envious as a producer, because I'm like, these people are just clearly walking into houses with cameras, and they're not worried about stuff like logos or what people are wearing at all. Like, you're not seeing blurs, you're not seeing concern about that kind of thing. And I think it's because of their legal team, but I also, in this, I really don't know, but is a question I have, is I actually think there's something different when you're doing comedy, or even, right, he talks about in this episode about it being like pseudo documentary, but it's a comedy. And so there's these questions of parody, of documentary, of journalism, of these different things that on a lot of shows I've worked on are not necessarily that.
Right.
And so I just wonder where, like, it's such a weird, confusing line to draw of, like, how these big companies and corporations, and, like, him setting up, the fake United office and having a fake person impersonate a United Airlines media rep, and then have a phone call with a real United Airlines media rep.
And be able to clear that. You know that they don't have that clearance.
All of it, and it's so crazy. And I'm like, is it a legal defense thing that you have to go through? Or is this just okay because there are laws protecting free speech and this is Trump's America and you can do whatever you want?
Well, in some ways, though, like, Trump's America, I think, seems to be, well, I mean, this isn't even helpful or productive, but it's like the loudest, most powerful, richest voice being able to silence or quiet down any sort of contradiction.
Well, and in this question, is that Nathan Fielder in this scenario?
I don't know who's what.
Is he he's the one we're watching, right? Is that not the most powerful voice in that room and in general? Like, he's the reason we're all tuning in. Right.
Well, I think it's a productive and insightful question to pose. Perhaps yes, because also I'm thinking too, if I'm an HBO executive and this is how Nathan Fielder is talking about Paramount Plus, where he has a project, what the fuck is he going to say about HBO?
It's so funny.
Well, and just on the previous, right? Like, as an example, based on my limited research of like what our rights and freedoms are as like a critiquing a critique show, a critique podcast, like our ability to use the media that we're talking about within our production, whether it's clips, whether it's show, like has a different amount of like flexibility than if we just like
posted
our
and ripped a
videos
clip. They get like 1,000 to 60,000 views.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, if we were to take and post a clip, no context, and just like this is for quote unquote entertainment, we're just reposting other people's property. That's a different set of parameters than us commenting,
creating, doing reaction vid style kind of content.
Yeah, and I like you setting that, like, or questioning how much of the like the framing and the parameters of like what Nathan is doing is protecting him in the work.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just like,
but also like real quick, like in White Lotus, the other show we covered, right? There was the controversy of Duke University.
Yeah, totally.
Duke did write a letter, and I bet they did try and reach out to HBO about like a cease and desist, and it's like got fucking smoked, and you look fucking stupid,
right?
So.
And that's part of it too. Is like who do you want to start beef with this incredibly popular creator who, as viewers, like it's to have as a corporation like United Airlines or Paramount, as these companies, right? Like to go after a creator like that in any kind of public way does feel like, I don't know, almost like a disrespect to the viewer, right? Like I'm like, we are not all that Duke University t-shirt in the White Lotus in that scene. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, y'all, it's a TV show. It's a metaphor. We're not all thinking that everyone who goes to Duke means you're going to fucking commit suicide like Timothy in the White Lotus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. And like, that's why it feels so silly when Duke writes that letter. Cause we're like, hello, it's a TV show.
Well, there's going to be a lot more people. It then reignites or brings in or activates that conversation about power, consumer, like who's the stronger brand, who has more money coming in, who's making more money.
Right.
And that's something I do wonder on the question you're asking, like how, when you've got Nathan and HBO working together, how much does any sort of tension they have like with each other, like if they did come after him or come into conflict with him, who would win out? It's just when you ask that question of like, we're watching him, is he not the ultimate power? I don't know.
Well, and also, what does that look like, right? If you're Paramount Plus, what does that look like having an issue with what Nathan Fielder's doing, who's a successful creator, who's driving viewers to your network, and you're a creator's network, right? Like you're Paramount Plus, you want to empower your creatives to make entertainment, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm like, creatives are the people who are the backbone of your company, no? I mean, that's what you're selling, and that's what you're
selling ads.
Well, sure, but I mean, like but that you get eyes on them because of creatives.
Well, I think that we're like 2 years ago of the SAG-AFTRA and
strike.
writers, the WGA strike of like, well, what is their responsibility to creators? What is an artist? And also what is like not just their obligation or responsibility, but like what is their incentive? And like that line will always be in conflict with a company like HBO and then an artist and a piece of art like Nathan Fielder and The Rehearsal.
And one thing about us is whatever happens here, we're going to stream it either way.
We're going to stream it. This is Stream Queens,
the pod.
This is
Stream Queens, the pod. Thanks for listening. I'm Erin McKeon.
I'm Julia Went.
You can find us on @StreamQueensAPod on everywhere you watch social media, including I'm experimenting with YouTube Shorts, guys. I'm not really so good at posting on YouTube Shorts, but I've posted a couple. So you can
Check
see
it
us there
out,
now
give
too.
it some love, and it really does help if you rate and review the podcast.
Yeah, please rate and review the podcast if you listen to this podcast. We love you so much, all of our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. And let's help get Stream Queens a Pod to 57.5 million listeners on Spotify.
Be part of history.
Yeah, be a part of history. Love you guys. Thanks.
Click.